Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back once again to Today in African History with Baba Shaka. I'm Baba Shaka, and today is May 3rd, 2021. It was on this date, May 3rd, back in 1940, that one of our ancestors who distinguished himself as both a soldier and an engineer departed this world. Now, before we get started, I want to take this time to wish Ramadan Mubarak to all of my Muslim brothers and sisters around the world who are observing the fast during this blessed month. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your fast, reward your good deeds, and wipe away your misdeeds, inshallah. Now, born near Thomasville, Georgia on March 21st, 1856, Henry Ossian Flipper rose to prominence as the first African graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point in 1877. Now, despite being born into slavery to Festus, a shoemaker, and Isabella Flipper, Henry was reared in a family that emphasized excellence, and he and his younger brothers all became respected members of their communities. He as a military officer, his brother Joseph as an AME bishop, his brother E.H. as a physician, another brother Carl as a college professor, and Festus Jr. as a farmer. Henry Ossian Flipper was appointed to the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, New York in 1873, and over the next 4 years, he overcame harassment, isolation, and insults to become West Point's first African graduate and the first African commissioned officer in the regular U.S. Army. Commissioned as second lieutenant in the U.S. Army upon completing West Point, Lieutenant Flipper was transferred to the 10th U.S. Cavalry Regiment, where he became the highest ranking and most famous of the Buffalo Soldiers, which comprised of Africans in an all-black regiment stationed at Western military installations. Now, some of you may remember the famous song by the reggae ambassador Bob Marley entitled Buffalo Soldier, stolen from Africa, brought to America. You know the words, right? Well, Lieutenant Flipper's assignment included Fort Sill, which was in Oklahoma, and Fort Elliott, Fort Concho, Fort Davis, and Fort Quitman, all in Texas. Lieutenant Flipper earned distinction during the Victoria campaign, which pitted the Apache leader Victoria against the U.S. Army in Texas and New Mexico between 1879 and 1880. There he was assigned to a troop under the command of Captain Nicholas M. Nolan. Now, while on that assignment, he became the first African officer to lead the Buffalo Soldiers in battle. Trained as an engineer, Lieutenant Flipper was known for his design of a drainage system at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, which is popularly known as Flipper's Ditch and is now a national monument, and which minimized malaria by removing standing water. Lieutenant Flipper's military career ended when he was accused of embezzling $3,791.77 from the commissary funds while serving as quartermaster at Fort Davis in Texas. Flipper was charged with taking the funds and then lying about it when confronted. He was tried and acquitted of all charges except, now get this, acquitted of all charges except, quote-unquote, conduct unbecoming an officer and a gentleman at a U.S. Army court-martial in Fort Davis on September 17, 1881. Now, despite appeals by Flipper's supporters who argued that his close association with Molly Dwyer, the sister-in-law of Captain Nolan, was the real motive behind the charges and the harsh sentence, because 2 white officers were found guilty of embezzlement, but neither were dishonorably dismissed from the Army. So his supporters argued that this was definitely most racially motivated, and President Chester A. Arthur refused to alter the court-martial verdict. Lieutenant Flipper was discharged from the Army on June 30th, 1882. He spent much of the rest of his life challenging the charges and attempting to clear his name. Now, after his dismissal from the U.S. Army, Lieutenant Flipper lived primarily in El Paso, Texas until 1919, where he worked as a silver mining engineer, surveyor, translator, newspaper editor, historian, and folklorist in Arizona, New Mexico, and in Mexico itself. His success in these areas were partly because of his fluency in Spanish and, of course, his many other talents. In 1921, Lieutenant Flipper came to Washington, D.C. as the assistant to former U.S. Senator Albert Fall of New Mexico when that senator was appointed Secretary of the Interior by President Warren G. Harding. By 1923, he was employed by Texas oil man William F. Buckley Sr., to work as an engineer in the petroleum industry in Venezuela. They've been trying to get Venezuelan oil for a long time, it seems. Right. As I mentioned earlier, Lieutenant Flipper did fight to clear his name. In 1898, a bill reinstating him into the Army and restoring his rank was introduced in Congress on his behalf. Now, to bolster his case, he sent Congressman John A.T. Hull, chairman of the House Committee on Military Affairs, a letter along with a brief supporting the bill's passage. Lieutenant Flipper's letter to Hull is an eloquent statement asking Congress for, quote, that justice which every American citizen has the right to ask, unquote. The bill and several later ones, unfortunately, were all tabled, and Flipper died in 1940 without vindication. Lieutenant Flipper authored 2 autobiographies, The Colored Cadet at West Point in 1878, and The Negro Frontiersman, The Western Memoirs of Henry O. Flipper, which was completed in 1916 and which Theodore D. Harris edited and published in 1963. Now, despite his many accomplishments, Lieutenant Flipper is most remembered in history as a casualty of racism in the military for his court-martial trial, primarily on charges of embezzlement at Fort Davis. Lieutenant Flipper retired to Atlanta, Georgia in 1931 and died there on May 3rd, this date, May 3rd, in 1940, at the age of 84. But 36 years later, in 1976, Lieutenant Flipper was posthumously granted an honorable discharge by President Jimmy Carter. He later received a full presidential pardon in 1999 from President Bill Clinton. Now, it has long been fascinating to me that Africans in these here, yet to be United States, would fight for a country that continually kicks us in the teeth. But that is another story for another day, inshallah. A very big shout out to all of you who have subscribed to this channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To those of you who have not yet subscribed, we encourage you to hit that subscribe button just below the screen and join us on this journey of producing these daily lessons. Please like and leave a comment down in the comment section. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, and suggestions you may have. But most importantly, please share, especially with the young amongst us. So, until tomorrow, inshallah, this is Baba Shaka with Today in African History. Masalam.